Hey guys, this is Josh here with Trillium Wild Edibles, and today I wanted to do a short little identification video on cleavers, or Galium aparine. Now the plant that we're looking at directly in front of us is called cleavers, or by its scientific name, Galium aparine. There are plenty of cleavers within this family. This is a very large extended family, and there are multiple variations of this plant. Now in many states, this plant is actually known as a noxious weed, and it does spread rather easily. However, it is edible and it does have a couple of edible parts. Now when it comes to cleavers, there are two different edible parts. One is going to be the seeds, or what's called the fruit, and the other is going to be the young shoots. This is a little too late for the early shoots. However, the tender tops of this plant are still technically edible, though they might be a little stringy. If you were going to eat these, you would actually want to boil them for about 5 to 10 minutes until they become tender to your liking. But let's say you don't know how to identify a cleaver and you want to know if this plant that you're looking at is a cleaver. So let's take a closer look at this plant in front of us now. Now one of the distinct things about cleavers is their growth pattern within the leaves. One thing you may notice is that these leaves are growing in a whorl. And it basically means the leaves are growing in a circular pattern around the stem, or a rosary pattern around the stem, just like you can see here. These leaves are very long, they're very narrow, they're lanceolate in shape. The reason I say lanceolate instead of lance-shaped is because they're long and they're narrow. On cleavers, you're going to find anywhere from 7 to 11 leaflets growing in this whorled pattern around the main stem, just like you can see here. Now, if we look at the whorls or the leaf patterns on this plant, we're going to notice that they spread down every 1.5 to 2 inches. And then as you get further down the plant, they get more and more sparsely populated, meaning that they spread out more and more. Now if we take a very close look at the plant known as cleavers, or Galium aparine, whenever it is in flower, you're going to notice a very, very tiny cluster, just like you can see right here, of white, 4-petaled flowers, and they generally will grow out of the nodes of the leaf stems, or where the whorls come out of the main stem of the plant, just like you can see right there at the tip of my index finger. Now these flowers are so small that it's actually very hard to show them in great detail on camera just because of how small they really are. Thankfully, there are plenty other discerning features about cleavers. Mainly the way it grows. Not many plants will grow the way that cleavers grow. However, let's take a look at some of the other more indefinite clues that we're looking at a plant known as cleavers. Okay, now if we take another very close look at the plant known as cleavers, we're going to notice running along the stem these stiff little bristles. And this is actually one of the reasons this plant has this name, is because these bristles catch on things very well, especially your shins. And whenever they catch on your shins, they will cause little cuts, similar to what looks like from tiny little knives. Right here, I'll demonstrate the catching ability of cleavers so you can understand what I mean. These things cling to skin, they cling to clothing, they cling to everything. Now another really unique feature about the cleaver plant is that it does have a square stem. This is one of the few plants that has a square stem that isn't actually within the mint family to my knowledge. There are a few plants that have square stems, but generally most people want to identify a mint just because it has a square stem. Now another thing you might notice, just like you can see here in this view, you can also see that those Bristle Ii hairs also run along each one of the leaves on the margins. So I thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something. If you want to learn more about edible or medicinal plants, please make sure to subscribe.